What's goody?
Welcome back. This is episode 3 of Jordan Squared. Today we'll
Mm-hmm.
be talking about men's mental health.
Mm-hmm. Mental health as a whole, but since we are men, it's
Um,
gonna be more commonly focused on kind of what we experience and how that could be different than other people. So
yeah.
let's see. Just to start, just I mean, in general, I'll ask you this: like when you think of mental health, and typically when you learn about it in school or in whatever, it's focused. I mean, it's not. I don't think they mean to do it, but typically it's focused on a lot of issues that a lot of girls would go through, I guess, or focus more towards girls. So like when they're in health class talking about depression or other things like this, it's not like at least for me, I felt like it wasn't tailored towards what I may have been going through at the time. And I don't know if you feel the same way, but like, how does learning about it in school and how people talk about it, like your friends or your peers or classmates or stuff like that, how does that kind of impact the way you deal with things that you may be going through at the time? And like, does it affect how you think of certain things, I guess?
No, I think like what you said, like learning about it in school, like we didn't really get it from the male perspective. And I think that just goes to like the stereotype of men don't cry, like suck it up, be a man. Just
Mm-hmm.
that like overall theme just really affects mental health. And I think like what you said, like growing up and especially in like health class, we never got that perspective and it always
Mm-hmm.
didn't feel more or less tailored to girls because it's okay for them to be emotional and it's okay
Mm-hmm.
for them to like express those feelings and it's not for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's basically what it is. I mean, I'll say it straight. I'm a very emotional person. Like
Yeah, me too.
small things. It could be anything. You'll catch me. Yeah, it's anything. It's ridiculous. So so for me at least, I mean, especially going through middle school, and you would see these things, and you would see how to deal with certain things, and I'm like, okay, like I relate to this, but none. I mean, I don't never talk about it with any of my guy friends. Like,
Yeah.
so I don't know if like I feel comfortable bringing it up with them, or if maybe they're going through the same thing and feel the exact same way, and just don't feel comfortable bringing it up with me because it's just not something that's talked about. Like, because I mean, we'll talk about our feelings and we'll talk about whatever, but like, I feel like when girls do it, it's sort of a different. It's different. That's
Yeah.
all. That's all it is. Like we have that bond, and it's kind of like surface level. Surface level is probably the easiest way to put it. It's more surface level. We don't get as deep. We'll hear each other's problems. We'll do this, and that. But at the end of the day, we're not sitting down asking the true like,
Yeah.
are you okay? Like, do you need this? What actually like more like what do you need? Like, let me know. Like, so
Yeah.
it's kind of different. Yeah.
It is different. And I think like when I really think about like the first like experiences I had with like mental health, it was in middle school and like I felt like I couldn't talk to anybody about it. Like my friends especially like you said before, it's like very surface level, so we wouldn't
Mhm.
get deep and like if you don't get deep then you're not really talking
Yeah,
about it.
you're not getting to the
Exactly.
problem.
You're
So.
holding yourself back, and
Mhm.
that's what kind of stifles the conversation. And I don't know where I'm trying to get with this, but yeah, I have a question for you. So, do you think we've gotten better at like having those talks and like expressing those feelings from your perspective?
From my perspective, yes. I mean, not with all the boys, with all my friends, but I mean, I've definitely had conversations that I wouldn't have had.
Yeah.
I mean, like beginning high school, going into high school, like there's conversations that I've had that I never would have had before that,
Mm.
and we come up and like I can like I've talked to Kelm about things, Kelm's talked to me about things like that's when we like first kind of started getting close.
Hmm.
So like we did track together sophomore year, and he came up to me and he's like I know you're going through some things, like I'm pretty sure you've heard I'm going through some things, like do you want to talk about it type, and it was just we were able to kind of bond over that, and that's kind of how we like started to get close, and I mean it's kind of nice like being able to mature and understand that like you don't have to keep everything boxed in, which is hard for me because as my mom says, I'm my own personal vault. Like I don't let a lot of things out. Like it's just kind of like if I have a problem, I don't feel like burdening somebody else with it. Like it's on me and it's my problem. Like
Yeah.
nobody should have to kind of deal with it or
Mhm.
whatever you want to call it. So I'll internalize things a lot. and I'm pretty good at it. But then there's that point where like you break, and then it's
Yeah,
like it's like, is this really worth it? Type. So
yeah,
like being able to have conversations like that definitely helps ease the load a lot. And I mean that's, I mean it goes into therapy too. I mean like I never thought I needed therapy or wanted therapy or anything like that, but just kind of being able to go in and just talk about your life. Like it doesn't even have to be problems, but
yeah.
just like sit down with someone and be like,
Hmm.
I did this today, I did this, I got good on a test, I hung out with friends. It's just kind of nice being able to let all that out and then you get to go on with your day. And
Yeah,
that's just it's something that's nice and something that back then I never would have thought about, never would have even wanted to try. So I mean,
yeah,
growth is probably it's a lot of growth is what
yeah.
it is really.
And like touching on like therapy, like I was definitely forced into it, you know. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't my choice. I wasn't like,
Uh-huh.
yes, let's go to
Like,
therapy.
"Let's
This
go therapy, babe." I'm
this
like,
is
"No,
gonna be
I'm
the
good.
most
I don't want it."
exactly like I fought against it, and
Uh-huh.
like the thing I've realized the most is like what you said, just talking about the mundane things, just having someone to talk to is amazing. And
Mhm.
like I never really had that before. And like when I went, like even in like the first couple sessions, like I automatically just opened up, and I expected myself just to like fight back against it
Yeah.
and just be like,
Mhm.
"Grr, no, no," just like annoyed that because I just didn't want to be there. But
You wanna be there, yeah.
they're good at their jobs, man.
Man, they don't say much, and it's just all of a sudden you get the floodgates open, everything comes
Exactly.
into light. Just
It's like, you magical man, how are you doing this to
Mhm.
me? No.
But yeah, I mean, and sticking on therapy, like that's the one thing, especially for guys, because like you'll hear, I mean, going back to the whole difference between male and female, or whatever. But like you hear girls talk about it, and they're like, "Oh, I have therapy for this," and it's like an open thing. Like if
Mhm.
they have an issue, they feel perfectly fine with talking about how they deal with it and going to therapy and different medications possibly or stuff like that because that's just kind of, again, there's a barrier and it's
Yeah,
that different. It's different. So when it comes to guys and when guys have issues like that, I mean, nobody ever knew I went to therapy and I didn't know. I mean, I eventually found out, but like I know when you started going to therapy and you probably always use that excuse when someone's asked you to hang out and you're like, oh, sorry, I got a doctor's appointment.
yeah,
I got a this, I've got
yeah,
that. And like,
yep,
even, and it's not even out of shame. It's just out of like, it's just we don't talk about that kind of
yeah,
stuff. We never did. So what's the point of kind of bringing that up? And then because that's a whole new conversation that maybe I don't want to have, or maybe you don't want to have, or something like that. So it's easier to kind of
yeah,
push it away or sweep it under the rug and act like it's not happening. Just kind
yeah,
of like look at
yeah.
yourself.
Like you said, like the personal vault, like you just kept
Yeah.
part of
Hmm.
yourself to yourself, and that's
Yeah.
like kind of a way. I feel like we all like what you said, like, oh, I have a doctor's appointment.
Yeah.
Like I use that so many times. Like,
Hmm.
nah, I can't hang out today. I have to go to dinner or something like that. Yeah.
Hmm.
Wait, I'm sorry I interrupted you. You're saying something.
Oh no, no, no! You're good. You got it. Keep going.
No, but it's fine. You got it.
All good. All good. All right. I don't even know what I was talking about. So let's see. Therapy, and then so okay. So I feel like a majority there's two different types of things that cause like mental health issues and stuff like that, and one it's internal and one it's external. And I feel like both of like we've gone through kind of different experiences. Yours more external and mine more internal, I guess.
Yeah.
So like being able to, because I'm trying to find the right word because it's different and how you deal with it's
Yeah,
different because
it is.
for me I don't want to use the word battling because that sounds kind of weird, but like the stuff I was dealing with was like self-image and kind of stuff like that and like how I viewed myself and kind of keeping up this persona for, I mean, because like it like going to school, like it's not like I was faking who I was or this and that, but like at a certain point you feel like you kind of have to,
Yeah.
you can't have off days, I
Yeah.
guess. And then when you get to that point, it's like, okay, just kind of power through, push through, and then you get back and you can deal with whatever else. But then for you, I know you went through a completely different experience. So I mean, I don't know if that's different. I mean, because we probably deal with things in generally the same way, but it's just different kind of how it starts, I guess.
Yeah. So, are we gonna like share like into
if
details.
you're comfortable, you can. I
I mean,
just
if you do, I will. I mean,
all right, sure.
okay. So basically, my parents got divorced, just like 50% of the other families out there. No
Hmm.
biggie. But yeah, so it wasn't a very amicable one, to say the least, and because of that, just like it just trickled down into like almost every facet of my life, especially like my relationships with my brothers, like my twin brother. Like during that time, we weren't the best of friends. One
Hmm.
could say we were the opposite of best of friends.
Yeah, at
It's,
times,
it's really
definitely.
like thinking about that now. It's really crazy because that was like junior year. That was like
Mhm.
last year, and
Yeah,
yeah, crazy.
like when he threw the calculator at you, or you threw the
Yeah,
calculator, something like that. Like
he
that was
threw it
like
at
beginning of
me.
the year.
No, wait, I didn't throw the calculator, but he did try and he punched me. So
Yeah, someone tried to hit
that
someone and
was
something
sophomore year, though.
on sophomore.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
sophomore year because it was going into summer.
Hmm.
Yeah, that wasn't even like the worst of it.
Yeah,
That doesn't
that's just.
matter. That doesn't matter. But because of that, we went to therapy for like me and Jacob. It was like
Hmm.
for us to like help regain our relationship and like talk things out. And like it helped, but I think what helped the most was like being able to talk. I call him Bart, like his name is Bart. Being able
Hmm.
to talk to Bart about like my problems, and I think like just being in that environment allowed me to talk about the things that like I was keeping to myself that didn't necessarily have to do with Jacob. And because of that, like what you said, like external and internal, like it helped me realize like how the external was affecting my internal, and
Hmm.
like how my internal was affecting my external, whatever.
Yeah, and so on and so
If
forth.
that,
Yeah.
yeah, if that even makes sense.
Hmm.
But yeah, so because of that, yeah, it was definitely an external push, and like I fought against it, like I hated it in the beginning, like I was pissed off at everyone, and but just going in and seeing him and talking to him, like it really did help. And
Hmm.
I feel like I definitely like I haven't been in a while, and like for the past like couple months, like I've definitely been thinking to myself that I should at least be talking to somebody,
Hmm.
because like some things will happen and then it's like you kind of fall back, at least for me, I kind of like fall back into the place that I was.
Hmm. And it's nice to have that person kind of
Yeah,
just
exactly.
to be able to reach out
Yeah,
and be like, oh, I can talk to you this
exactly.
time, this
'Cause,
time.
yeah,
Like,
then I just start to, like you said before, just start to be like, oh, this is my problem. Like, I won't talk to anybody about it. And then it's
mhm,
just gets worse and worse. So,
yeah,
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 that was a
yeah.
lot. That was a lot, man. Oh, man.
It feels nice to get it out there.
It
Just kind of
does. It does.
like, yeah.
Woo. Ah.
All right. I'll back you up on that. So for me, I started dealing with a lot of like kind of it started with like a bunch of like a lot of anxiety in middle school, like probably around seventh grade, I think is when it started.
Mhm.
And then I would get panic attacks starting around then too. And it was just kind of like from built up stress and from other stuff like that. And I didn't think of it as like that big of a deal because like whatever. But then at the same time, like I'm not talking to my friends about it or anything else or like that. So it's just that constant like keeping it inside, not letting anybody else, like my family didn't know anything like that.
Yeah.
And that went on for a while. And then, um, and then what else? I'm trying to figure out how to go with this. Okay, yeah. So that went on for a while. And then 3 years probably. Yeah. So beginning of sophomore year. Actually, I'm in circles right now. Hold up. Let me back up. Let me back up. Okay. So my family, I wouldn't call it issues, but my sister also had mental health issues. So she went into and she went to therapy, other stuff like that. And so I wasn't like the first in my family to go through this, even though I was, but the first that like my parents realized or understood. So like
Mhm.
in their eyes, there was one child that was going through it, and then it was also hard for me, and it was hard for my younger sister seeing her go through this and seeing like kind of like how it like warped or messed with our family dynamic or whatever you want to call it. And that's also it's build up and just
Mhm.
more build up and you keep it inside and it's just kind of you roll with it and let it go. So
Yeah.
beginning of sophomore year, I went for like a doctor physical or something like that, and they made you check these like questions about me, and I checked the
Yeah.
question wrong. I checked the question wrong, and she comes in and she's like, "Oh, so we want to talk to you about
Yeah. Same
this and
here.
that,"
Yeah.
and I broke down, and I was like,
Uh,
blah blah blah, and then my mom left the room. She started talking to me, and they came out, and the diagnosis was panic disorder, general anxiety, and then major depressive disorder. So that's kind of like what she came from that. And then my parents were like, okay, like we need to like do something with this because like you've been holding this in for a while. We had no idea. Like we wish you told us, kind of thing, whatever. And then so I went to see a psychiatrist for a little bit, and then I first went into therapy like third quarter sophomore year or something like that. And then I would go once a week till the end of the year and then just kind of phased out like because it was nice to have somebody to talk
mhm.
to and kind of like open up, but at that point I was still kind of fighting it, I guess. Like now I didn't really want to be there because
Yeah.
I'm like because at this point I'm like I've been dealing with this for 4 years now on my own. Like I don't really feel the need to have somebody else step in and tell me what I am or am doing wrong or not doing like whatever. I'm like I got a handle on it at this point. Like it's still like it's my problem. Like nobody else needs to do that. So whatever, we would talk and it was okay, and we never really got, like, that deep, I guess. It was just more kind of still more surface level stuff, but it was nice to have somebody to talk to, and then kind of phased out of that, and just there was a big break for a while where I just didn't go, and I was doing fine, I guess, but then, like, the panic attacks would still happen because it's just kind of built up stuff, and then when they would start happening more, in shorter time spans, like once a week or once every other week or something like that, then that's when I was like, okay, maybe I should, but I didn't tell my parents or anything like that, so trying to hold it in. And then I went through something earlier this year in like February or something like that, where I had to talk to my mom about something that happened with Guillermo. I talked to her about it, and she's like, maybe we should get you back into therapy. Like maybe that'll help or something like that. And I'm like, okay, like I'll try it. And it was nice. And I mean, it's all virtual this year, so it's a lot different. But
Mhm. Yeah.
like I went in and I'm my happy self, and she's like, oh, I don't even know why you need to be in therapy. And then she'll ask me a question. She's like, oh, I see a little bit why you need to be in therapy. And I'm like, all right, yeah, makes sense, whatever.
Makes
But then she was, and then, but it was nice to have that like reassurance
Mhm.
because I would go in and I would tell her this, and then she's like, it looks like you have like a really good handle on what's going on. Like you've been able to set goals for yourself, been able to do this, that, be social, keep up with your schoolwork. And it's just like that constant
Mhm.
reassurance is really what it is.
Yeah.
And over time, I mean, I phased out, and now I kind of go when I want to, rather than like a scheduled meeting.
Yeah.
Um, but then but I took it upon myself because I'm like, I really do want to have this under control before I go to college. Because
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not gonna have anybody really. So like,
Yeah.
if and I can always still reach out to her when I am in college, but like, I'd like to be able to really understand like what triggers what happens to me and how I can fix it and how I can deal with it rather than kind of just breaking down in the moment and figuring out after. So that was kind of like the main push for me, and it was definitely helpful and got to set goals for myself. And I mean, they've helped me do a whole bunch of stuff, helped me put on weight, helped me kind of stay happy, stay active, just stuff like that. And I mean, it's been nice. It's been fun.
Damn.
So yeah,
Thanks.
yeah.
Thanks for sharing that, Miles.
Sure, of course.
Huh?
Anytime. Anytime. Anytime.
Dude, still, like, even just like having this conversation, like, a part of me is like, oh, do I want to say this?
Yeah,
Like,
uh-huh.
it's like that struggle, and
Mhm.
just like I think just letting it out, like it does help because, like, especially when we're talking, because we're pretty close friends,
Yeah.
like
Mhm.
talking to somebody who's been through like the stuff you've been through, like
Mhm.
you don't think that they'll like understand or
Yeah,
whatever,
or like,
but like,
they'll be like, "Oh, like, I know how you feel," but,
yeah,
like, they don't know how you feel, like,
yeah,
whatever, but
that's what I think will happen, but like
mhm.
more times than not, people like truly, truly like
Yeah.
understand and have like been in the same place.
Mhm.
So
And
yeah,
you just have no idea because
yeah, exactly.
stuff you don't talk about. Like
Yeah,
it's just
exactly.
kind of.
And I think like just like here like because I say like you're a good example of this. Like when
Mhm,
I picture Miles, you know,
mhm.
I picture like this outgoing, like fun loving,
Yeah.
handsome, you know,
Yeah.
pretty, you know what I'm saying, like just all around just like a great happy guy. But
Mhm,
like what you said, like you still go through a lot of things, and
mhm.
like you can never judge a book by its cover, as cliche as that is.
Yeah.
But like you really can't.
Mhm,
Like everybody is struggling with something, and I think like talking about it is so influential,
mhm.
incredibly influential.
Alright, so going back to talking with somebody about it, now that, like, we've been through growth and we're now seniors and we've been going through this for a while now,
Mhm.
like 2 years for you, maybe longer for
Yeah.
me. Do you think? Because going back to the thing we talked about where, like, you don't understand or you may not know what other people are going through, do you think that therapy is still, like, a taboo subject for guys? Because like if we were to bring up therapy with the boys right
Mhm.
now, like if I were to be like, oh, like I went to therapy yesterday, like how would the reaction be different than it was say freshman year and now? Like, is it
Ooh.
because
Oh,
like I feel like freshman year if someone was like I'm going to therapy, they'd be like, oh, you a bitch, like something like that, just be like, oh, like you like whatever, but like
okay, yeah,
now I feel
that's a really good question. I think like if like freshman year if someone was like, "Oh, I'm going to therapy," I'd be like, "Oh my god, like what's wrong? Like are you
yeah.
okay?" Like I would
Hmm.
be like super duper 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 concerned, and like I feel like I'll just like subconsciously just like distance myself in a way. You know what I mean? Don't Okay. Does
Yeah,
that
no, no,
make
no,
sense?
no, I know what you mean
Yeah,
because you're
because it's
like
hard. Like
maybe
like
they're going through something and like
yeah,
I'm not sure how I can
how you can
like
yeah
help or put myself in
help.
situations, and maybe it's better if I'm like, ah,
Exactly, and it's like, yeah, you don't wanna talk about it because like, it
mhm,
is like, back
because
then
it's uncomfortable. Yeah,
yeah,
it's like,
back then, I think it would've been, like, much, much more uncomfortable and much more taboo, so, yeah, I'd say, yeah, and compared to this year, like you said, like, if you're just, like, with the boys, I think we've like I remember at least a couple conversations where when we're just like, oh, someone's just like, oh yeah, I got therapy, like I gotta go, and like someone else is like, oh yeah, like my therapist is cool or something. I don't know
yeah,
like when that happened, but I remember
mhm,
that specifically. So I think like it's definitely not as taboo as it was
mhm,
freshman year.
yeah.
What do you think?
I definitely have to agree with you. I mean, we can sit here and have this open conversation like this that
Yeah.
never happened a couple years ago. So like, it's just the fact that we are able to talk about it and are able to like understand where you're coming from, and you're able to understand where I'm coming from, and not just us, but the rest of
Mhm.
our friends and whatever. Like, it's nice, and it's nice to be able to
Yeah.
have that conversation. It's nice to be able to open up to people, and it's a level of trust that like we've been able to achieve and been able to get to. And it takes time and it takes a lot of other stuff, but I mean, once you get to that point where we are now, it's like we feel like there's not much that's like off limits, may not be the right word, but just something like I'm really trying to find the right word here, but like there's not something that's like too deep or too something that like you feel like you wouldn't be able to bring up to the boys
Mm.
unless it's like really like
Yeah.
really serious kind of issue. But like I feel like I can bring up stuff to you guys that's like more personal about myself or more personal about just kind of anything in general, and I wouldn't have been able to do that a couple years ago. So it's
Yeah,
just it's that growth, and it's
for sure.
it's nice to
I have
have.
a
Yeah.
question. Do you think it's like because like let's say freshman year, like we really didn't know each other, like we've only had known each other for like a year, right?
Hmm.
So do you think it's because we've like grown so much together and we've become like so close that it's become less taboo in a way, or do you think that that has had an effect on it?
That definitely is an influence because I mean at this point like y'all like my family, like we can talk, we can do this, and it's a lot different than just this random kid that I've heard about that's plays on my basketball team that like whatever, like stuff like that. Like
Yeah,
because we're close and we're friends, but I'm not gonna go talk to you about my personal issues within the first like 6 months of knowing you or something like
yeah,
that. So,
exactly.
and I mean, it's like yeah, it's like I said earlier, it's that trust and it's that
Hmm.
bond that you're able to create with somebody, and we've been able to do that, and you've been able to do that with other people, and so have I. And it's just it's it's cool. It's a really cool thing to have, and it's something that will last not only in high school, but you'll be able to use the relations that we've made now in college and in future times when we come back from college and stuff like that. So I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
it
I
definitely
think
plays a factor.
I think the word you said, like keyword you said, is trust. You know,
Hmm.
like that's like the most important thing, like when talking about these things, is like trusting the person you're talking to, and like trusting yourself to like be open and to be honest and to be vulnerable. So like without trust, like you really can't have these types of conversations.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, that is the biggest part,
it
and
really
that really
is.
part. And it's the trust between me and you. It's the trust between me and my parent, me and the sibling, me and the therapist, me and whoever. And it's being able to have that connection, being like, I'm gonna open up to you, and it's not. There's no judgment. There's no whatever. It's just I want to hear your side, and I want to be able to kind of help you through whatever you're going through, kind of. So I mean,
Exactly.
once you establish that, it's not no real going back from there.
Yeah,
You've got that. So yeah, something that'll
exactly.
stick with you. Hmm.
Yeah. Like I really want to have like this conversation with like
With
the
the
rest,
boys.
yeah, with the rest of the dudes, cuz like it's really like comforting, like
Hmm.
hearing people talk about like what they've been through and knowing like you're not alone, you know?
Hmm. Yeah, because I mean, like I know for sure, like for a fact, there's at least three people that we could bring on here and we can talk about it. And but I know that there's definitely a whole lot more than just
Yeah,
the stuff like we know about because people are always going through stuff on a daily basis. I
yeah,
mean, stuff changes, life happens. So I mean, it would be, and even if it's not like a big thing, or if it's just like even if it's a smaller thing that someone wants to get off their chest, like it's nice that we have the space to be able to do that. And yeah,
yeah,
I mean, it would be really cool to get them all on here and just try to talk about that. So maybe we can kind of work it into the social life episode or something
yeah,
like that.
something like that, hopefully.
Hmm.
Okay, I have another question for you. Like, okay, in our bullet points we have self image, and I think what goes along with self image is like body image. And so like I think that's like one of the like, along with like mental health, I think it is a factor into mental health, like how like men like feel about their bodies, and like how like like you know what I'm trying to say, like
Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay.
yeah,
So you
that's
bring up
like
amazing, like yeah, because when you think of
that's like
body
my
image
biggest struggle
yeah,
for
and
sure.
like body positivity or whatever, you
That's
hear
the
that.
word.
Yeah, it's another thing. You think of girls, you think of all
Yes,
bodies beautiful, you think of
yes,
it's okay, like small, medium, plus size. Like I don't
yep,
even know what the but, like it is what
yeah,
it is, and everybody's beautiful in their bodies. But at the end of the day, like people don't feel that way, like about
yeah,
themselves. And we same thing as before. We go through different. I was the same weight from freshman year of high school to about 6 months ago. I was 126 pounds for the last 4 years, and I couldn't like no matter what I did, I couldn't put on weight. I was always a small, little, skinny, scrawny kid, like whatever. And you've been different. We've been able to take this. I mean, past I don't know how long you've been working out for, but I mean, you cut what like 50 pounds, something like that.
yeah. So
Like,
like from, I would say fresh, because like the thing with me is that like elementary school, I was like a chubby, pudgy guy. Like I
mhm,
was just kind of, I wouldn't say born this way, because like looking back at old pictures, like when I was like 3, 4, or 5, like I was
yeah,
relatively skinny.
mhm,
But like especially in elementary school, I was kind of a chubby kid, and like I was
mhm,
definitely picked on and bullied because of it, you know.
mhm.
And that just going into middle school, like 6th grade, I would say I was still like pretty chubby. But then this is gonna be a lot. I'm just letting you know
All
right
right, let's
now.
hear it. Sit back.
We're going through it all with Jordan
Going
right
into it.
now.
We're going into it.
Okay, so 6th grade is when I start. I mean, fifth grade I did start playing basketball too, but sixth grade was like when I was on like the travel team and all that stuff. So it's like I was playing basketball, like real conditioning, like basketball 24/7. So I got into like really good shape, and that continued from sixth grade, seventh grade, eighth grade. Like looking back in pictures, I'm like, what? Like I was actually in really good shape. But
Mm-hmm.
the whole time, and I mean the whole time, I felt like so fat. Like I thought I was
Mm-hmm.
like the biggest dude in existence, and and I honestly was like bullied still. And like
Mm-hmm.
looking back, I'm like, how were people making fun of me? Because like I
Yeah.
literally didn't. I wasn't even fat.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
like like it's really ridiculous to think about, but like people's perceptions of you, like they can really have a massive effect, and
Oh,
it did have a massive effect on me.
no.
Like I was picked on, I was called tits. Like people would just like that still happened in high school, but people would just like grab my chest and my boobs. Like it was the
Yes.
worst. Like it was the worst. And like at the same time, I like in retrospect I wasn't even fat, so it
Mm-hmm.
hurts. But okay, so now we're in high school. We graduate
Mm-hmm.
middle school. We're in high school. um I break I bre- I break my pelvis
Uh-huh.
like an idiot would, right?
Mm-hmm.
I break my pelvis, and because of that, I can't really move around. I can't work out that much, and for a while, like because of that, I got pretty chubby again, like
Mm-hmm.
actually chubby, and then freshman year. Freshman year summer, I think I hyperextended my leg, like my knee,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like really bad. I couldn't do anything because of that. Like I just kept getting bigger and bigger. So sophomore year, I was just a pretty hefty guy. I was like 200, like 20 pounds. Like looking
Mm-hmm.
back, like 220 pounds in like as a 15-year-old kid,
Yeah.
Like, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
not very tall. Like what, five? Like back then, I was like probably
Probably like
5'8".
yeah, 5'8", something
Five
like
eight.
that.
I'm 5'9" now, so
Yeah.
like 5'8", 220. Like that's a big boy.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big boy, and I definitely felt it. And like my self confidence was so low. Like I thought like I was literally like it was like one of the worst times. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and coupled with like
Yeah.
family issues like
Together
we
with family
discussed,
issues.
like that combination was just like "Bah, bah,
Mhm.
bah,"
Blow
just
after
beat
blow
me
after
up,
blow,
blow
yep.
after blow. And like this is the part like I really didn't tell anyone about. Like I just like wouldn't eat. Like I just wouldn't at all. Like it was at one point it was like so bad. I was just like I couldn't. Like I just wouldn't. And then sometimes I'll just like I don't know if we can talk about illicit activities on here.
We'll keep it vague, we'll keep
We'll
it vague.
keep it vague, but some things would implore me to eat more,
To
and
eat more, yeah.
because of that, I would just like overeat, and then I'd feel terrible,
Mhm,
and that like cycle continued for about like I'd say probably still until like the beginning of senior year. It was still pretty bad,
mhm.
but I'm all over the place right now.
No,
Sorry
no,
about this.
you just gotta let it out.
So junior year is when I made the varsity basketball team, and because of that,
Mr.
like,
Varsity.
got no minutes ever, ever. Career like 8 points.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But because of that, like a lot of conditioning, coupled with the fact that I just wasn't eating at all, and like I was just depressed because of the shit. The can I say?
It's
Can I
you're good, it's
curse?
fine.
Okay,
If
because
anything, I'll just edit it out, but yeah,
because of the shit going on in my life, just like that combination, I lost about like 60 pounds, maybe even more than that. And like I felt like I felt good,
mhm,
but at the same time, it was like one of the like unhealthiest ways to achieve that goal. You
Mm-hmm.
know, like because for the longest time, I was just like, oh, I just want to lose weight so bad. I don't want to be fat. Like I hate it.
Yeah.
Like
Mm-hmm.
girls don't like me. No, 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 no. And
Mm-hmm.
like when like I reached like I don't know s- I wouldn't even say
Whatever.
skinny, but like
I mean, yeah, no, but you dropped.
yeah,
You dropped a lot.
when I
Like,
dropped a lot, like
mhm.
people will tell me they're like, "Oh, Jordan, like you lost weight. You look good. Like you look good. You look good," and
Yeah.
like
It reinforces it.
it
You're like,
re
well, maybe it is good.
yeah,
Like,
maybe it is good, but like it's really not because
mhm,
of the way that it happened. And like this year, I think I've gotten a lot better with it. Sometimes I slip back into that mindset,
mhm,
like I feel bigger one day, and I'm just like, oh, I'm gonna just eat breakfast and that's it. And that's not good.
yeah,
I don't know what else to say, but yeah, that like body body image has been my biggest struggle, I would
mhm,
say, almost like my whole entire life. And
mhm.
like it's hard because like there's not a lot of people that I've like talked to this
Talk to them about talk.
yeah,
To them.
I've
Yeah.
talked to about this. And
Mhm,
like because of that, like I haven't like been able to like hear other people's perspectives, so like it's tough, but like I've definitely gotten better. So
mhm.
we're
Yeah.
on the up and up.
Mhm. I'm proud of you. I'm
Thank
proud of you. I'm also proud of you for letting that out. I know
Yeah.
it definitely took courage
Woo!
or something. So,
God damn,
all right.
that was a lot.
It's a lot.
A lot on your plate, man.
Whole lot of lot. I mean, yeah, for me, it's different because I've always been the scrawny kid that people could always like push around, like ever since middle school. Because like elementary school, I used to be like normal. Like I was a tall kid. Like I was taller than everybody. Like I grew before other people, whatever. And then middle school, people just start sprouting up past me. And like I was friends with Carson Ruth, and Carson Ruth was like a head and a half taller than me. And this man would just like push me around. And same with
Really
Jude, because Jude was like more than a head. He was
big,
these men would
big
tower over
guy.
me, and I looked like because I wasn't even 5 feet at the beginning of high school. Like I think I reached 5 feet
Wait,
like
really?
right. Oh yeah, I was 5 feet at the beginning of high school.
No way.
But I have it marked. It's marked at the Garcia's house.
Serious?
It's ridiculous. My mom has a
What?
picture of it. So like I was small and didn't weigh a lot, and then I mean, well, I guess for my height, I weighed a decent amount, but like I was just a small kid,
Yeah,
and then I grew so much that
big.
year, and I
Yeah,
was in the year I was like 5'6", I think, or something like that at the end of the freshman year, but also didn't put on weight, so all that whatever, just skinny, scrawny, it's the same type of thing, like
yeah.
like extremely small arms, everything looks twiggy, and it's the same kind of, and it's also annoying because like in sports, like basketball, you get pushed around and just kind of stuff like that. And it's just like eventually you kind of have enough, and I'm like, okay, like, and then I would try to eat more, try to work out, and I would work out and I would lose weight because I would be like losing whatever. It
Hmm.
was really weird because I just wasn't eating enough, I guess. And then that just that definitely took a toll after a while. I'm like, damn, like, am I ever gonna be able to put on this weight, put on whatever? And then what was it? I finally got weights for Christmas this year. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna put the work in. I'm gonna do this. I mark my weight off, and then it was going good for a little bit, and then I got my wisdom teeth taken out.
Uh,
And I couldn't eat for like a week and a half. Like I couldn't eat like real food for like a week and a half, and all the progress that I made from like Christmas to February just like disappeared.
damn.
And I was so pissed, and I was like, really? Like I was back down to 125, and then I'm like, all right, like we got summer's coming up, like gotta
Oh,
get back into
stop.
it.
Don't
Summer,
tell me, bro.
baby.
Don't say that. No.
So I mean, got a routine, got to
Ugh.
work because it's not only working out, but it's also a food routine and like
Yeah.
what you're gonna eat and what you're gonna stay away from and whatever. So I mean, I've been able to put on 13 pounds since February, which is nice. So like I've on the come up, and it's hopefully going into college can put
Yeah.
on more and whatever. But I mean, it was definitely hard because I mean it's a challenge that you kind of have to go through and don't know if you can make it through, and there's
Hmm.
ups and downs, whatever. But I mean, once you start to see progress,
Yeah. Yeah.
it definitely makes a difference in how you view it.
Yeah.
It's no longer an impossible task, I guess, or however you want to call it. So
Yep.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I think like I think another thing, like in respects to men especially, like the culture, like even like you said, like oh summer's coming up, and like
Mhm.
my initial reaction was like no you know, because like
Like, you're not
like
ready.
like we're expected to just like oh you take your shirt off like oh ripped
And dry it
abs,
off.
big
Yeah.
arms, you know, and like
Hmm.
that aspect like you're like oh I have to be in the gym 24/7, I have to be lifting constantly, and
Hmm.
like that just like creates another like part of that negative body image,
Yeah.
and like I've definitely like realized that, but it's hard, it is hard.
Really hard. And it's also, I mean, because it also goes back to social media. Because like when you think of,
Yes.
when people talk about social media, it's always these girls and their
Yeah,
perfect bodies on the internet, and they don't. It's never talked about how like we all see these
yeah.
models and these whatever and these chiseled and whatever. We're just kind
Mm.
of like,
It
okay, I guess, like whatever. But I mean, it's less talked about because
yeah, it
like
is.
like even now, like when everybody's advocating for everything and
Mhm.
stuff like that, you still don't see a lot of that for men or for guys, and they'll talk about certain things, but when it comes to body image and stuff like that, like it's taken less seriously, and like you'll
Yeah,
see it on TikTok too, and like when people will be like, oh, like, "Oh, I wonder how small it is," or something like that, and then the guys turn around and they'll be like, "Isn't that like what happened
yeah,
to body positivity?" And then the response is always like, "Oh, well, that doesn't matter." Like yes, it is different, but at the same time, like it's kind of a double
it
standard
is
where
a
it's
double standard.
yeah,
Yeah, it's like social media has been like it sucks like because you see it so often. Like you
mhm,
really see like these perfect dudes, and in like real life, they're not perfect. It's just
yeah, mhm.
like
They got their own issues,
yeah,
demons, whatever you wanna call 'em that
exactly.
they're going through, but you put on that persona for the internet, and that's
Hmm.
all everybody sees.
Yeah, and it's hard. It really is, especially
Mhm,
like growing up with social media. Like we went through our most like progressive stages of life,
mhm. Yeah,
or like
looking at
stage.
or, like, comparing
Yeah,
ourselves to other people.
constantly comparing ourselves, and I think that
Mhm,
was like my main issue as well. Just like, oh, I have to look like this, I have to act like this, blah 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 blah.
mhm,
Because you see it so often, and it's not good at all. At
mhm.
all.
You can definitely say that.
Yeah.
Man, oh, man, alright. Um, let's see, so where can go from here, I guess, so, like, when it does, like, because you said, like, you were picked on for it, and I was always picked on for my size, and
Yeah.
as that kinda, like, went on in high school, at least for me, like it kind of not went away, but it was just kind of like from my friends, and it's just kind of like joking jabs, and it's less of like random kids picking or like kids that like I don't know that well, like picking on me or stuff like that, and it's more kind of like comments that you can take or maybe hurt a little bit, but at the end of the day, like that's my boy, like I love him, like he's not trying to actually like
Yeah.
hurt me in that kind of way. And that's the thing that hurts because like even if it does really hurt you like that, like whatever somebody says, you kind of have to
Yeah.
like, do you stand up and do you check that person? And then he's gonna be like, oh, like it wasn't like that big of a deal, like I didn't mean it like that, because that takes confidence, because then you have to go into why it hurts you and why that makes you feel this
Yeah.
way. And maybe you don't want to open up about it, so it's
Mhm.
easier to just be like, we'll leave it alone, it's whatever. But like when because like when people think of bullying, it's like slamming kids in
Yeah.
lockers
Give
and
me your lunch
taking
money.
yeah, stuff like that. Because nowadays it's a whole lot different.
Whole
So I
lot.
don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
let's
think
talk about yeah, yeah.
no, I
Talk.
think like that's definitely like that was the hardest part for me because it's like my like in middle school it was like so normal that if you said like oh like stop I don't like this like you're actually like hurting my feelings like they'll be like
Mhm.
Like
They'd
it's
be like,
just
"What's wrong with
yeah,
you?"
what's wrong with you? It's literally just a
Yeah.
joke. So I'll just like keep it inside. I'll be like, like you just like laugh along with that.
Haha, so funny,
And
haha,
then
like,
you add on to the joke so it seems like nothing's wrong. You're like, yeah, I do have tits. Oh, I'm
haha,
going
yeah,
for milk or
yeah,
some shit like that. You know,
yeah.
like but then at the end
Mhm,
of the day you're just like, damn, like that sucks, you know?
yep,
But
mhm,
I think we've that's like I've realized that like I just don't make jokes with about anybody's bodies like at all because like
mhm,
I know how much it affected me.
mhm,
So I never ever ever want to make someone feel the way I did. So I
yeah.
try my hardest not to say anything like remotely related.
Got a new okay, so on that topic,
Mhm.
so now instead of bring somebody down about their body or anything like that, now with the boys, it's always, "Oh my, you look so good.
Yeah.
Bro, you gained muscle, you look
Yep.
good today," stuff like that, and it's hyped up.
Yes.
And then because that hasn't happened before, what's the first thing you're gonna hear when you say that to someone and somebody else hears it? What's the first thing you're gonna hear? It's gonna be something like, "Oh, like that's gay. Like, what are y'all doing?" Like stuff like that, and it's like, so how are we supposed to win in that
Exactly.
situation? Like we're trying to, because girls hype each other up, and
Yeah.
they're never gonna get a comment like that or anything like that. But as soon as we change from kind of the whole make fun of whatever to more actually hyping each other up and
Yeah.
making each other feel good about themselves, and it's like, then I don't want to say wrong with us, but it's used as an insult.
Yeah.
Like when that's used, it's supposed to be used as an insult.
Mhm.
So then it's like, how are we supposed to win in that situation?
Yeah.
Like what are we supposed to do?
Exactly. And I think that's what I love about our friend group so much is that like it's like every time we see each other we're like, "Oh man, you looking cute as fuck
Hmm.
today, boy." Like, "Oh, I see you." You know, like I think we've got like we all, like all of us we do it so often. Like it's
Hmm.
like normal for it's normal for
Yeah.
me now and like
Oh yeah. Easily.
easily, you know. And
Yeah.
I don't think we like I don't want to speak for you, but sorry about that. Like some like I don't think we like really take that or like appreciate it as much as like we should.
That's
Cause like
good. Yeah.
like 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 what other friend groups do you see like male friend groups do you see that like actively just like
Compliment or
compliment
go out of their way
go
to
out of their
make
way?
somebody else
Yeah.
feel good about themselves, or like
Mhm.
any like it's not a lot,
It's
and
not a
it's
lot.
yeah, and it's not only on like your self image or anything. It could be like you do like James with his whole signs. I forget what it's
Yeah,
called, but like red, whatever sets it are. But he did some amazing science thing. It was a
yeah.
top program. He finished like top 40 in the country out of like all high school
Wow.
science related things, and threw a party for this man. Like celebrated them, praises, because
Yeah.
because
I'm
it's a huge
so
deal.
mad I didn't get to go to that. I'm
Oh yeah, yeah, because you were like, where were you? I don't know. You were somewhere, but and then I had to leave early
yeah, I can't
or something
remember.
like
Where was I? I don't know. That doesn't matter.
that.
Keep
But
going. What
yeah,
are you saying?
but I mean, like it's just stuff like that, like little accomplishments. You make varsity on basketball, hype you up about it, just
Yeah,
stuff like that. Like somebody scores in a game,
yeah.
somebody, I don't know, gets a girlfriend, like whatever. It's just it's stuff like that where you're always there to kind of hype them up and be
Cheer 'em
like, you
on.
know what, like I'm proud of you. Like
Yeah,
you've done this, you've done that. Like you should be proud of yourself too, kind of thing.
yeah.
And there's not a lot of, at least that like we can see. But I
Mhm.
mean, from what I know and a lot of the other guy groups that I've been around, it's never really kind of been like that. So we're a special group of people.
Yeah,
Is what it
we
is.
are,
We're a
we
special
are,
group of people.
we are, and I think that like shows our character as well. Like we're a special group, but that means
Mhm.
like we're special individuals. You know,
Yeah.
like
Hmm.
we wouldn't be doing that if like we genuinely
I didn't mean it.
didn't mean it
Like
exactly.
I'm not gonna throw out a random compliment if I don't mean it. Like I see some, I'm
Exactly.
gonna comment on it. Like that's what it
Yeah,
is. Like
exactly.
so, yeah.
It's just love, man. That's what it is.
It's all
That's the
it's
whole.
all of it.
It literally is, man, and
Hmm.
that's what I love so much about you guys.
Hmm. It's I mean it's nice because it's these kind of friendships. Because I mean, yes,
Mhm.
we're going to college and yes, we're doing this, but we've
Yeah,
still got breaks and every and
Mhm.
summer breaks and winter breaks and fall breaks and like we come back, we know that we're still gonna be able to have each other and it's
Yeah.
still gonna be like nothing's changed really. Like we can have our college lives, we can go out. I mean, we'll be together, but stuff like that. We can go out and like have our college lives, whatever, and come back, and it's still the same kind of
Yeah.
loving friendship that we already have, and it's like it's nice to know that that's gonna be there for us,
Yeah, for
and
sure.
there's not a lot that can change that permanently.
Yeah,
Like
for sure.
so if you definitely change it in the like for a little bit and throw a little dirt in the road or whatever, but it's not
Yeah,
gonna yeah. It's gonna take a lot to kind of break the bonds that we've made in the
yeah,
past
for sure.
4 years for me and even longer for you because
Mhm.
you've been in middle school with these kids. So
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I think like even like when we're like older, like we'll just be able to like appreciate that part of our past, you know?
mhm.
Like even if like we're not like as close as like we are now, like we can still just look back on it and be like, those were good times, those
Yeah, like
were
look
good
back at pictures or whatever and be like, oh, like that's Jason. I remember when we did this, or just stuff
times.
like that. Like it's not going to be painful memories or anything like
Yeah.
that. You'll be able to look back on this time and be like, you know what, like they were there for me, I was there for them. Like I really appreciated that
Hmm.
time of my life. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Just beautiful. That's the only
it's
word I
beautiful,
can describe
beautiful,
it as beautiful.
sensational,
Yeah.
sense. Yeah. All right, let's see. We can go one more topic.
One
So
topic.
we talked about people like playing a factor in your self image, yourself, and then yeah, that was the two things we talked about. So the last thing, especially for us because we're students,
Hmm.
how does like because academics is probably the third part that plays because you have how there's like three little planes. It's like how other people view you, how
Yeah.
you view you, and then how your academics
Yeah.
represent, I
Hmm.
guess.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
when because I mean for us we're all that's the other thing that's really cool about our group. We're all smart
My
kids. Like
kids, yeah.
we're all basically around 4.0 or above
Yeah.
GPAs in clubs in activities like stuff like that. So
Yep.
we're all very involved, like
Yeah.
outgoing kids.
Yeah.
So when it comes to like maintaining that your GPA or your grades or whatever, like the how does how does that stress level play a factor into the other things that you may be going through? Because it definitely like
Mm.
pile on,
Yeah.
but then is it more because academics are important? Everybody stresses you
Yeah.
need good grades because if you don't get good grades, you don't get into good college. No
Yep.
good college, no good job, no good
Yeah.
job, horrible life. Like that's basically so,
Horrible life.
so like everything important is
Yeah.
stressed on how well you do
Yeah.
academically. So
It really is.
and they stress that from such a young age. Like we're like 12 years old being taught this. So like
Yeah.
it's a mindset that we've been with forever,
Yeah,
basically. So
forever. Like yeah, what you're saying right now is like 110% correct. Like I think the culture in Arlington like is just like because it is like such a smart county, like such a
mhm,
smart city, and like such a successful city. Like
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like
I mean we're one of the richest cities in the
yeah,
world,
one
and
of the
we've got
best educated cities in the world.
one
Like
of the best educated cities in the
I
world.
think Arlington is ranked number one for
But we are all three high schools are top
yeah
50 in the country.
yeah.
Like it's
Like
ridiculous.
yeah,
It's
and like what you said, like we've learned about this since like eighth grade. Like our I don't know about you, but like our counselors from like not
oh
even
yeah.
like fifth grade, sixth grade,
Yeah, they'll
like
come in and they'll talk to you about credits and about this and
like
about that and about AP and IB and I'm like,
yep.
I am I'm not even 14 years old yet. Like how understand or
Exactly.
comprehend like so I don't know.
Okay, what
It's
was that? I was gonna say something. Yeah. So that culture, like, and like I think it builds like this competitiveness as well. Like you wanna like do better than your friends. You wanna have
mhm,
that A. Like you wanna have that 4.0. Like, and if your friend, like I know this for me because like in middle school, my grades were bad. Like they were like, and it wasn't even it was just because I just wouldn't do homework. I think that's like the reason
Hmm.
why. Cause like
Oh,
I
yeah,
like I was a smart kid. Like I know I'm smart, but like
just
back
put in effort. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. I just didn't put in effort. But high school for sure, like I tried like a lot. I tried really hard. And because of that, like I I still didn't feel like I did enough, you know?
Hmm.
Because like you would see your friends like they're taking all like full IB, all A's, like they're doing all these things and you're
I mean,
like
last year James took three advanced science classes. He took
yeah,
like AP Physics, AP Bio, and
yeah.
IB something, like another science. I'm like, how do you?
How do you do that, man?
He added a class to do that. He took eight classes to do that.
Yeah,
I'm like, how?
what the
Like
heck?
that's ridiculous. Like,
Yeah. And I think like like we just compare ourselves, or at least I do.
no, that's yeah,
Yeah,
that's the. I'm pretty sure everybody does
yeah,
because you
yeah,
see
for sure.
somebody. I mean, it starts in your class, and you
Mhm.
see somebody get a better grade than you on a test,
Yep.
and it starts with your friends, and you see them get a better grade in the class overall, and then you
Yeah.
go on Naviance, and you check like how you're rated against your peers, and you're like,
Yep. Ugh.
I can step it up a little bit or something like that, because
Yep.
it's that's the thing. People, especially here, like I don't know, even if there's not a lot of complacency, like where you're at. Like
Yeah.
I've never been like, okay, I'm here and like
Um,
I'm okay with
yeah.
being here. It's always I want to take a
Mhm.
step up. I want to be better. I want to be better than this person, that
Yeah.
person, or better than I was 2 months ago. Like
Mhm.
kind of stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
and that's nice because it makes us competitive and it makes us have this drive that I mean, I don't know if I mean not saying that we're better than everybody else in the country, but like it makes us have this kind of edge and stuff that we know about, like that because that's just kind of how we were raised, and
Yeah.
that's and people know that like
Mhm.
colleges accepting people coming out of Arlington, like they know that Arlington public schools have a kind of different
Mhm.
way of going about things,
Yeah.
and that's why most of kids, well, majority of kids that go to public schools will go to a 4 year college for the
Yep.
most part.
Mhm.
So it's crazy, and
It
it's
is.
awesome at the same time. Like
It's a
it's
lot.
amazing. Hmm.
Like the effect it has like on our mental health, like you were saying, like how does it? Like I think it is like one of the biggest factors because you can be happy, like be hanging out with your friends, like doing all these things, like having a great sports season and all that. But then you go home, you check student view, and like you have all these missing assignments.
Interview is the bane of my existence,
Like you,
and the Canvas
in the
dashboard.
Canvas dashboard, my god, oh my goodness, yeah. But and then it just completely it ruins it, you know.
Mhm.
And like that stress, like so much stress to just be better and better and better and achieve more and more and more. And like
Mhm.
I think like I feel like all of us are like a little burnt out at this point from school,
Yeah,
especially this year.
I mean we're
We're
seniors
seeing,
doing basically a year and a half through a computer. Like
yeah.
I mean, we're kind of done at this point. We were into college like
Yeah.
4 months ago. Like we're like, hey, we're kind of done. Like we're done with this. Like we don't really need to be here. So
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and like you said, like you go home and you could have the best day ever, and you go home and you see that you didn't get a good grade on a
Mhm.
test,
Yeah.
and I mean, because we care, like we care about our grades, so
Yeah.
that hurts us. And then you hear about it from your parents, and they'll be like, "Oh, what happened with this test?" And you're like, "Oh, I don't really want to talk about it," or so. And then
Yeah.
that brings you down a little bit more, because then like, and it's just that constant kind of thing. But then it can also go the complete opposite way, where you have a horrible day or something like that, and then you ace a test that you
Mhm.
studied really hard for and you
Yeah.
prepared for, and you're like, okay, like that makes me feel a bit better about myself.
Does. Yeah.
So, I mean, it can go either way,
Really
and
can.
that's yeah. But I feel like it's cool that we've been able to break down like
Mhm.
mental health into the three kind of different things because
Yeah.
when you step back and really think about it, it really is just those three things. And I
Yeah.
mean, it makes it seem very simple, even though it isn't.
It
But like,
isn't.
if you can get a handle on
Mhm.
those three things, like
Yeah.
get a handle on your academics, and then how you feel about yourself, and then surround yourself with good people that care about you and want to see you succeed. I mean, that seems like the recipe for success. But I mean, as always, easier said than done.
Yeah,
But I mean, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I agree 100%. That's literally
Mhm.
just how it is.
It's a lot, man. It's a lot.
A lot, man. A lot.
Mhm.
All
All
right.
right. Well,
Anything else?
I think we've covered most of it, unless you want anything else.
Nah,
Any final comments?
I don't have any final comments. Oh wait, final comments. This is great conversation as
This
always.
is a good conversation.
I feel like it gets better and better each time.
Every time, just learn more stuff about each other, get
Yep.
closer. I mean, and that's as we've said I think in the past, both of them. But like, that's what this is for. Like,
That's yeah.
because I mean, my mom asked me the other day. She's like, "Who is your audience for this podcast?" And I'm like, "We don't really have an audience. This is more for like for us
For
to
us,
kind of
yeah,
like get a deeper understanding about
yeah.
not like each other, and then you,
Hmm.
and then just the topics that we're talking about." So like. I mean, if people want to listen to this, they can. If they will have they have an hour to spare and sit down, and sure they got it. But like at the end of the day, this is just kind of like for
Yeah,
us to be able to have this, and
mhm,
well, it's like we'll be able to look back on this a
yeah,
little
for
bit and
sure.
just kind of just yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. Man, all right.
Right.
Well, it's been fun. This has been episode 3. We'll see you guys next time.
Sounds
Hopefully, it'll be in person. But
hopefully.
if not, we will just be right back here. But I mean,
Yep.
yeah,
All right.
it's good. So
Peace.
until next time. Peace.